As a transfer student, not from Western New York or New York at all, how did Brockport come on your radar and then ultimately sell you?
I had never actually been to Brockport. I didn't go to orientation. I didn't take a tour. I just packed up my suitcase and my cat and I flew to Brockport.
But you will have the time of your life here. I almost guarantee it.
Welcome back to the Tour of the Nest podcast. Unfamiliar location today. We are here in the Student Union here at Brockport, the kind of hub right in the middle of campus for everything. Joining us today is Cadence Lopez. Cadence, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Liam. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, first of all, in this kind of crazy, hectic place. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so like Liam said, my name's Cadence. I am a senior here at SUNY Brockport. I'm a double major in English creative writing and women and gender studies. I am a SULA employee. I'm a union manager, so I work here almost every single day in the union in two different locations, in the mailroom and down in CGSD. And I am also the vice president of Delta Phi Epsilon.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we're very happy to have you. We'll start with an easy one.
Okay.
Tell us about your path that you took to get to Brockport.
Yeah, so my path is definitely a little crazy. I grew up in the Virgin Islands. I lived there from when I was a baby till I was about 13. But then I moved to California to be with my dad's side of the family, but only for about 3 months before I moved schools and locations to Festus, Missouri, where I continued my middle school. And then I went to high school in a different location in Missouri, and then moved high schools to a high school in Illinois, and then back to Missouri for the rest of high school. And then I started college at Millikan University in Decatur, Illinois.
And from Millikan, what was your path to ultimately not finishing your degree there and coming to Brockport instead?
Yep. So I did my first semester freshman year at Millikan, and then I did second semester at State Fair Community College, which is a small community college in Lake Ozark, Missouri. After that, I decided to take a little gap year because I kind of felt like I didn't know what I was doing or what I wanted to do. So I spent a lot of time working and hanging out with my sisters. But then eventually in summer 2023, I applied to Brockport, planning to come to Brockport in fall 2023, but didn't end up transferring here until spring 2024.
And as a transfer student, not from Western New York or New York at all, how did Brockport come on your radar and then ultimately sell you?
Yeah, so I really just wanted to get away from the Midwest. And I wanted just something new. Like, I knew if I was going to go back to college and start fresh, that I really wanted to start fresh. So I started looking at colleges very far away. I've always wanted to come up north, I guess. And so I found Brockport, and I found that they had a really good English department. Some of their professors are like published and like with Simon and Schuster and all these like big places. I'm like, that's what I want to do. So I applied, and I had never actually been to Brockport. I didn't go to orientation. I didn't take a tour. I just packed up my suitcase and my cat and I flew to Brockport.
And what were your majors at your former institutions? And then what are your majors here?
Okay, yeah, so I had a lot of majors. Like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. So when I was in high school, I applied to colleges as a pre-med student. But then I got too scared and I switched to nursing, but then I also got too scared of that. So then I actually started my freshman year as an English education major, but then eventually changed it to social work and then to journalism. And now I'm an English creative writing major in women and gender studies.
Women and gender studies. I know that you and I have talked off camera before about how that wasn't necessarily coming into school like your primary goal or primary major. How did you end up adding that skill to study?
So Brockport has this really cool thing where one of their like gen eds is like a like a women and gender studies type class. And so I had to take one of those my first semester here. And I absolutely loved it. So I just kept like taking them. I would take like one women and gender studies class like every semester until one of my professors told me that I need to become a women and gender studies major because I had already almost finished it. So I added that on last semester and yeah, and I love it.
Just so we can keep everything in order. You mentioned already your role with Delta Phi Epsilon, or otherwise known as D Phi E. As for all the different roles that you've held here, did you get as connected with your former college campuses as you did to this one?
I don't think so. The only thing I was involved with at my other campus was the dance team, which I grew up a dancer, so that made sense for me to do that. But it took up a lot of my time. So I was either at practice, at a game, or at doing homework. So I didn't really get to connect with a lot of different like people on campus or a lot of different clubs. I don't even know what kind of clubs even were on that campus. So it was definitely hard to adjust just because I felt like I never had time to like be a freshman in college.
Yeah. How did Brockport allow you to kind of right that ship and get involved with so many different things at the same time?
I definitely think a lot of it had to do with my different mindset, is that I wanted to get involved, and because I had already like tried to before, I kind of knew what I was looking for. And so I kind of just started to like hang out like in the union, start talking to people, go to Club Craze, which is like a big like club palooza where all the clubs get together. And just really like Brockport was a little bit more welcoming. They were always posting like on their social media. You'll always see like people like tabling here in the union. Like everybody is just like wanting to like become your friend or like become your community. So I think that definitely really helped.
Yeah, I think one of the things that makes Brockport special to me is just how many familiar faces there are all the time. And like just walking through the union or walking through the academic buildings, like it's pretty rare you're not going to see like a familiar face. And I think that goes a long way in making Brockport feel like home. And so with D Phi E, Delta Phi Epsilon specifically, how did you get connected with that sorority and ultimately join and rise to the top?
Yeah. So, like I said, I was interested in joining Greek life at my other school. So when I was looking at Brockport, I instantly went onto my Brockport and I went to see what kind of organizations that they did have on campus. So I started stalking Delta Phi Epsilon before I had even set foot in New York. And so I actually had signed up to go to their recruitment weekends, but I wasn't able to because I fractured my foot. But eventually somebody reached out to me and invited me to like a smaller event, which then I went there, and then all of a sudden I was getting along with all these girls. And next thing I knew, I was becoming a new member.
So you obviously said that you served as the Pan-Hellenic president last year. Mm-hmm. So obviously you're super familiar with Greek life overall. Mm-hmm. To you already mentioned that, you know, Greek life and sororities on maybe bigger campuses function a little differently. Mm-hmm. So what makes the Greek life or the sororities specifically here at Brockport really special?
Mm-hmm. So it's really nice that we have smaller chapters. So at schools like Alabama or Miami, like they have chapters full of like 200 girls. So there's no way that you can like get like so connected to like each person that you're seeing every single day. But because like my chapter of Delta Phi Epsilon only has 15 members right now, I can say that I know every single person and like I like know who they are rather than just like another name on a roster. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's very special. And then also because we are so close knit, it just makes more like events more like easy to plan and easy to like enjoy, just because it's not like 50 million people planning it all. It's just like teamwork at like its greatest.
And what are some of your favorite events that you've been able to either put on in like a leadership role or when you were just more of a general member able to attend?
Yeah, Yeah. So one of my favorite events actually just happened last week. I put on a Great Campus Cupcake Off decorating contest. And so we were fundraising for our two philanthropies, anorexia nervosa and other associated disorders and cystic fibrosis. And so we had like a little like cupcake decorating competition, which was really fun. Also, all my recruitment weekends that I planned, I love so much. I put a lot of time, many months, many hours into those events. So I have to give myself a little pat on the back for that. And then I also got to plan formal last spring, which was really nice. But some of my favorite events that I get to do are probably our community service events. One of them is called Beautify Brockport, where we go pick up trash around Brockport. And we do that about 3 times a year. And that's just one of my favorite ones.
So how are those big recruitment weekends that you put so much time and effort into? When does it kind of pay off? Like, what's the reward at the end?
I love seeing everybody's face as they like get to know like what sorority they want to join, like when they find like their home. That's what we usually say. But like it's so like fun seeing all of these potential new members like go through recruitment and ask these questions and like make those connections to their new sisters. And I think at the end of the day, like that's my favorite part. And like I'm proud to like say that, oh, like I recruited 20 girls last year. So yeah.
You were just a general member at one time.
At one time.
What about DeFi specifically made you want to become a leader and put all these hours into planning these events and stuff?
Yeah, so I personally connect to a lot of our philanthropies. So we have 3 international ones and 1 local philanthropy. And so like I said, we have ANAD, cystic fibrosis, and then we also have the DeFi Educational Foundation. And then we also just added our local one, which is breast cancer awareness. So what inspired me to be a leader is that I wanted to make a change in all 4 of those communities and like put together that community service and that philanthropy work to like help other people in need. I feel like I've always wanted to help people. So like joining something that like you kind of have to help people just really like inspired me to like want to keep growing as a leader. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, of course. That does make sense. When you were the Pan-Hellenic president, what did that mean? What were some of your responsibilities outside of the recruitment weekend?
Yeah. So we had to have weekly meetings with our council. So we have 4 members from Delta Phi Epsilon and 4 members from Phi Sig. But I also had to work a lot on like how to be inclusive in our spaces, because we do have that stereotype of Greek life being not inclusive. But like Delta Phi Epsilon, we're one of the first Pan-Hellenic sororities to allow like non-binary and transgender women. So it's like building that language into our org as a whole, because even though it's international, like sometimes it's hard to like bring that in so that we're making sure we're inclusive to all. So I really worked on that. And
how proud are you that you were able to do that, build that inclusivity, and just make Greek life here a space for everyone?
I'm very proud. And I think like my courses in women and gender studies definitely helped with that. But it makes me feel good. Like if I don't accomplish anything else in the next year, like I will say that I will always feel proud that I was able to like help make Greek life more inclusive.
You spoke about being a union manager. I'm myself a union manager too. That's how we met. What are just some of the things that this place has to offer?
Yeah. So the union has so many different things that I feel like people don't even realize. We have our the square, which is this little like mini version of a dining hall. So we have like different options rather than eating at Harrison or eating at Brockway. We also have the mail room, and then we also have like a lot of conference areas where like a lot of like smaller events happen, or like leadership classes. If you take the stairs down, we have the space, which is where a lot of like the clubs and orgs hang out. The clubs and orgs advisors down there. She's very nice. Go say hi. And then if you keep going down, you have CGSD, you have the stylists. And then if you go back upstairs, you'll have the ballroom, Jitterbugs. If you go all the way down the hallway, you'll see BSG offices and the radio station. So yeah, there's just a lot of things going on in here all the time.
Yeah, for those that may not know, Jitterbugs serves Starbucks menu. So
Yes.
the line for jitterbugs is always a sight to behold, but absolutely worth the wait.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think a couple other things. The club esports team is located in the Union, and they have, sort of state-of-the-art facilities. Like Hayden said, lots of conference rooms, but also like lots of private spaces for studying. There are massage chairs
There
around.
are massage chairs.
During the weekdays, the world-renowned popcorn is always a hit. And we'll have guest lectures in the ballroom. The Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra performed here last year. I mean, there's always something going on at the Union.
Always
Part
something.
of our job as UMs is creating the schedules each day for what each room's being used for, and they're never blank. And right where we're sitting right now is a really nice space to sit, hang out, eat, whatever the case is. Yeah. Transitioning to kind of you personally. I know just from outside conversations with you that in your specific field of interest career-wise, you had a hard time finding your first internship. What did you kind of learn from that experience and kind of maybe grueling process?
Yeah. So finding an internship was insane. I ended up having to apply to 50 of them. And honestly, none of them reached back out to me, which was very did not make me happy. Luckily, I talked to a lot of my professors in the English department, and I was able to find a local internship at Writers and Books in Rochester, which is a nonprofit organization that helps people in our community learn how to read and write. And so being able to do that this summer was absolutely amazing. Just being around so many different kids during their children program was just amazing to see how creative minds are even when you're 8 years old.
To anyone that like you at the time who feels maybe discouraged in their search, whether it's for an internship or a full-time job, what is some advice you would give to those people?
Keep trying. Every time you get a sorry, we're not considering you for this position, apply for 5 more. That's what I did when I was applying for colleges. But all I can say is don't stop trying. Keep trying, keep talking to people, because eventually what you're supposed to be doing is going to come to you, but it's not going to come to you if you're not putting in that work and putting in that effort.
And while we're still on the topic of advice, what's one piece of advice that you'd give to a younger version of yourself as a freshman at your former university? What do you wish that version of Cadence knew now?
I would tell her to be yourself, and also trust your instincts. What happens is gonna happen, and that's okay. And just don't stop trying, because eventually you'll make it there. When I was a freshman and when I transferred to my community college and then took a gap semester, I didn't think I was ever going to be back in college. So just trusting what's going to happen, you'll make it.
And we just looked in the past, let's look in the future. Senior year, which is very exciting. What are some of your goals that you just want to achieve, come the middle of May on graduation day?
I would love to get some more of my work published in the writing world. I've been working on a short story, so if I could actually continue to work on it on top of schoolwork so I can actually get it published again, I would. I think that's my number one goal right now. But also just to be excited for myself, because I have found myself to be very stressed out right now. I'm oh my gosh, I have so many things to do. I need to apply for jobs. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So
just giving myself that grace and to still be excited that I'm accomplishing something that I've always wanted to accomplish.
Same.
Yeah.
I feel that really heavy. Just kind of that feeling of why am I relaxing right now? I have something I should be doing right now.
Yeah.
But it is really important to take that time for yourself.
Yes.
And, pat yourself on the back for all the hard work that you put in. So by the end of this year, you'll be graduated. If you could make a wish for where you see yourself 1 year from today, what would that be?
I hope that I'm somewhere where I'm inspiring people to write. My plan right now is to eventually become a literary agent. So I want to be like in there, like helping people like write books. And so that I hope from 1 year today that I've at least helped one person be inspired to keep writing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's say you're sitting in the mailroom and one of the campus tours of high schoolers comes through, which happens all the time. All the time. And maybe a kid or a kid and his parent, his or her parent or their parent comes up to you and is like, why should I come to this school? Maybe they're on the cusp of going somewhere else or they're between two places. What would be your pitch?
I think I would definitely start with how beautiful this campus is. Like all of the seasons, like even when it's like bitter cold, like it's still such like a beautiful place and like a nice place to like walk around, and you always like feel it's a safe campus. And it's also just in a beautiful like town, like Brockport as a whole. Like you can just walk around and like go to all like the shops on Main Street, and like it's just beautiful. But also like the academics here like are really good. Like the professors want to help you, and I feel like that is kind of like controversial at like other colleges where it feels like you have like classes full of like 200 people. So like the professor can't get to know you one-on-one. But I feel like the classes here at Brockport are so intimate where you get that one-on-one time with that professor. And like you actually feel like they want you to succeed rather than like feeling like you're lost and like scrambling with all this homework.
Yeah.
And then also you just kind of build your leadership here, like whether you like it or not, you're going to become a better leader in academics, in your clubs, like at your campus job, like no matter like where you are at Brockport, you're building up those like leadership skills that you can take out of here. And so I think those would be like my 3 things that I would pitch.
Yeah, I think it's really cool how much support we're given here at Brockport. And you know, at times you have to ask for support, but it's never not going to be given to you. And each student's education here really is tailored to them. And when you go out and ask and seek, you know, different things that you desire, chances are someone is going to be able to make that happen for you. And I think that's really, really important. And I think that's why people stay, frankly. All right. Well, that about does it for us. Cadence, any parting words?
I'm just really glad that I got to do this today. This is really awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We were super glad to have you. Thank you for telling us about Greek life here. But that is all from us. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Tour of the Nest podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.